Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My hair is doing some questionable things, but we're gonna ignore it for the purposes of this intro. It's drying, so it's gonna do whatever it wants, basically. I have been working my absolute tail off the past couple of weeks, as is evidenced by lack of vlogs, to get to the point where all of my content that's not vlogs for the next like 2 to 3 months is already filmed, prepped, ready to go, so that I can focus on making these vlogs and reading these books. One of my goals for this year was to get through all of my unread physical books, and I'm not doing a very good job of that. There's quite a few that I have yet to read. So we need to get started. I want to get started. I'm excited to get started. These are my unread books. Some of them are library books. Some of them aren't on my physical TBR, but they're books that I just want to read. We're gonna be doing a 24-hour situation. Now, I'm a little too neurospicy, a little too autistic to do an actual 24-hour readathon where I fuck up my schedule and all that. We can't do that. We can't be doing that here. So we're gonna be doing the thing with the timer where you record your time reading, not 24 hours consecutively, but every time you read, you time yourself. That's what we're going to be doing, and we're going to see how many of these books we can read. So let's talk about what I'm currently reading, and we'll go from there. It's quite a lot. Probably not really realistic that I'm actually going to get through all of these, but these are kind of what I'm going to be reading for the next couple of videos until they're done. So still reading House of Flame and Shadows, still at the last place I was at, 258. Haven't picked it up. I'm feeling fine about it. No big thoughts. Third book in a series, fantasy romance situation. Not loving it, but I am kind of ready to finish it. So after I read the book that I'm like actively reading right now, we're gonna get back into this one. It's quite a many pages, so it's probably gonna take up a decent chunk of the 24 hours. So that's maybe not the best move for this challenge, but this is like priority reading, not getting as many books done, but like actually reading, if that makes sense. So been out of the habit of reading for a while, and I need to get back into it. I'm currently actively reading The Phoenix Keeper. I started this in my last vlog. I am 66 pages in. This is a cozy fantasy, really liking it. Main character is giving very much me. It's about magical creatures, a zookeeper, all of that. Lots of conversations about animal conservation, obsessed with what I have read so far. So that's like priority number 1, and then the other one's priority number 2. As far as my owned books, I've done almost 0 reading of the TBR that I set for myself this month, and it's the 17th. So we have a couple of weeks, but I still would like to get these done as soon as possible. If you saw my TBR video, my last resets, you know what's on this list, so I'll quickly run through them. 2 historical romance, Darling Beast and Chasing Cassandra. The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, epic fantasy. The Temptation of Magic, fantasy romance, I think. Giant Days, slice of life, 3 women at university who are best friends, graphic novel. Fathom folk, adult fantasy, mermaids, stuff like that. And then lastly, To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods. I didn't know at the time anything about this book. I just got it in a box, put it on my shelf, and went from there. But I have since learned some things about this. This has been kind of touted as a colonizer romance. I am not the right demographic to make that decision, but I do know that it's romanticizing some parts of history that people don't love that it does. I'm gonna go in and give you my thoughts. Obviously, I will try to be cautious of stepping on Own Voices reviewers, and I always encourage people to look and read and seek out Own Voices reviewers, but this is about a girl who lives in a colonized place. I think it's China, and it's about the Japanese occupation of China, I think. And then I also have 2 library books that I would like to get to. We have This Could Be Us, a emotional romance from one of my favorite romance writers of all time. Haven't read any of her traditionally published romances, but I have read almost all of her indie published. And then The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley, one of my all-time favorite mystery writers. I tend to enjoy her audiobooks because I think they just lend very well to the reading storytelling experience, but wait on this is several months and I want to read this immediately. So it's basically about a luxury resort built on top of old secrets in an ancient forest. That's what we're going to be starting. I am filming this intro on Saturday the 17th. We're probably gonna start tomorrow, if not Monday, depending on how tomorrow pans out. I need to do some filming of some videos again so I can set myself up for vlogging in the future for the next couple of months. So we'll see how that goes, but probably tomorrow, if not Monday. So when we start reading, I'll let you know. We're gonna start with The Phoenix Keeper, and hopefully this is a new all-time favorite. So let's just get right into the vlog. Okay friends, it is time to start this challenge. It's Monday and I'm ready to start reading for 24 hours. I have actually already started this challenge. I started the audiobook for Paris's memoir called Paris. I was listening to it at work and I got like 67-ish% of the way through the audiobook. It is an 8.5-hour audiobook. I listen at 2 times speed, so the math equals out that I read for about 2.9 hours. We'll just round up and say 3. I read for 3 hours today. It is read by Paris herself, and I don't rate nonfiction. I mentioned in my last video I'm considering just not rating things altogether, so maybe for this video I will not rate and see how my reviews are. And then if I hate in editing the way that I talk about the books, I will put my star rating up. But as far as I know, this is the first time outside of her documentary that she details everything that's happened in her life from childhood to where she is now, or you know, at the time of writing the memoir. So that obviously details all of the abuse that she sustained in child rehabilitation schools and all of that. And the part that I'm at now is mostly like her early 20s and the start of the business empire that she now has. I think that this was ghostwritten, but it's very much written as someone how you would imagine that Paris Hilton would talk. She uses a lot of lingo and slang and stuff, modern day language in her writing, which I think fits her personality very well. And she talks very heavily, especially in the beginning part, about her ADHD diagnosis and how that has kind of shaped her life. And she's had some introspective moments about ADHD's impact on her life and her decision making and stuff like that, in addition to all of the other things that she went through. I've not been an avid fan of Paris Hilton. I think she's a very interesting woman, and I have enjoyed reputation shift, or the public's opinion shift towards her since, you know, her early 20s, when Britney and Lindsay and her were like really bashed in the media. I appreciate the sort of shift that the shift in approach that we've taken toward her and these others. But I've never been one that's like followed her career. I do know that she's incredibly intelligent and she has had businesses for years and years and years, and she markets herself very well, and she just in general is a very technology and business savvy woman. I know all of those things, but I don't know a ton about her, so reading her memoir has been pretty interesting. It's also been incredibly heart-wrenching and hard to read, and while it's not deeply emotional, she's not like getting emotional in her reading of the story in the audiobook, it makes your stomach like curdle. It makes you feel sick, and I think that's all handled very well. And I'm glad that she has been speaking up about the abuse that she experienced and that a lot of kids experience in these rehabilitation centers. That being said, it's not my favorite memoir that I've read. It's very disjointed. It's very much like ADHD thoughts, which is interesting because she obviously provided the material to the ghostwriter if it's ghostwritten, and then they wrote the story, which I appreciate that they feel like they kept it very true to Paris's identity and who she is and how she thinks and all of that stuff. But it can be a very disjointed reading experience. It reminds me a lot of Britney Spears's memoir, where she would go off on tangents about events in her life, whereas Paris goes off on tangents about like clothes and what she wore to events and stuff. I only have an hour and 20 minutes left of that. I probably will be listening to it the rest of the week. That means that I only need to read for 21 more hours. I am going to spend the rest of the day reading The Phoenix Keeper. I have read a little bit of this since the intro clip. I am now on page 150 and I'm still really liking this. This is about Aliyah, who works at a zoo in the Avery department, and she is responsible for the phoenixes, specifically this almost extinct breed of phoenixes that it's like her lifelong dream to see this type of phoenix become a flourishing species again. They have a breeding facility at the zoo that she works at, but it's kind of been defunct and they haven't used it in a long time. But they're going to bring a male phoenix to the zoo to breed with the female phoenix that they have, and so she's preparing for that. I'm really liking it. I am going to focus on reading this today. Hopefully I can get a couple of hours in, and I would like to finish this over the next couple of days so we can move on to something else. But yeah, so we're gonna jump right into reading this. So I have read for an additional 2.5 hours yesterday, and I got to 302 in The Phoenix Keeper. I am like 150-ish pages to the end, and this has slowed down quite a bit. I am still enjoying it, but it's not like a 5-star, unfortunately. We have had her getting the male phoenix and the successful introduction. We've had a little bit of movement in the 2 romances. She has like a romance with a guy who is part of the dragon side of the zoo, and he's like not only is he not a great fit for the heroine, the main character, as far as like compatibility, he also is kind of suspicious. Like he's pushing a little bit too hard, and there are things that will come up that are like compatibility things, and he'll realize that they aren't compatible and he'll like try to walk it back, which is just weird. So I think he's connected to something else going on at like the zoos with the breeding program and stuff. So we'll see with him. But she also has made further inroads with the Luciana, who I think is going to be her ultimate partner. I thought there might be like a sapphic romance. There is, I'm pretty sure. And she runs like the show, so the like zoo's entertainment area, and she also has come on to Aaliyah's team as a PR person, so she like does interviews for her and stuff, and they've had a little bit of connection. And of course Aaliyah has realized some like misconceptions about her and all of that. I will say Aaliyah's character is kind of immature, and I think falls honestly into some pitfalls that I find with myself, and it's kind of like reading myself a little bit. It's kind of like, ooh, you know, when a character flaw in someone hits you a little too close to home, and so you're like, you're fucking annoying in this particular thing, but it just because it like hits too close. I think that's what's happening with her character. Other than that, I'm really liking the story. It's, again, not like a 5-star. I'm not in love with it. I'm having very similar feelings as I had to Legends and Lattes in the last video, where I really liked it, but it wasn't like blowing my mind. And as I read more cozy fantasies, I think I will start to appreciate them a little bit more, appreciate the parts of the genres. But like, I'm enjoying the reading experience. I'm not having an issue, so continuing to read it for this challenge is not going to be that big of a deal. But that means that I have 19 hours and 31 minutes left. So we're just gonna get right into this. My partner and I were spending the morning doing some side business stuff, and then we also have a Lorcana event later. It's 2 now. We have to leave about 5:45 for that. So I think I'm gonna read until we have to leave, and then when we get back it'll be about like 9 or 10, and I'll probably be tired. So that's the rest of my day. I'm hoping to at least get another hour or 2 of reading in. Yesterday I didn't do a ton during the day. I got so distracted with doing household stuff with the ferrets and all of that kind of stuff. So it was a busy day, and like my anxiety was just a little bit too high to sit there and read. But at night I had calmed down enough that I was able to read, and once I was in it, like, I was really enjoying it. So that's that. We're gonna get back to reading this. I'm excited to move on from this, but also I'm trying to savor it. So it's a weird reading experience.
Can I have my seat back, please? Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Happy Wednesday. I thought we could talk while I make my coffee. I am working from home today, and I have a ton of side business stuff to do. So let's talk about the reading that I got done yesterday. I could not sleep, which part of the issue I think was that my body was like struggling to recover, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I ended up doing a decent chunk of reading. I have 17 hours 36 minutes left, and I ended up finishing the Phoenix Keeper. So let's talk about this first. I liked this a ton. I do have some issues with it that made it not a perfect book, but I think the world building, the attention to detail when it came to creatures and husbandry, even though this is a fantasy world, and the talks of conservation are incredible. They're fantastic to read. The moments of taking care of the animals and going through the zoo and cleaning up, they very much fit the... One second, my coffee maker is heating up. This is actually a mug from this book. Oh, maybe, wait, no, maybe this is Fourth Wing. I don't remember. This looks like the main character from this book though. I think all of the conversations around like cleaning and all of that are very much like cozy fantasy. They do a good job of like the cozy elements of like everyday life and routine and all of that. The issue that I do have is with the characters and some of the relationships. While I find Elia's personality a little bit more believable than a lot of reviewers do, I will say she is pretty annoying. She is a little bit frustrating to read from. That's not to say that she's not relatable, because she is. I think if you're socially awkward in any way, if you might be a little bit neurospicy, you can relate to a lot of the personality quirks. In her author's note said that she was writing the social awkwardness from her own and the social anxiety from her own personal perspective, which I appreciate and I could relate to. And like I said, there were facets of her personality that I appreciate and could see in myself, even if it was like a bit of a read. Not really love the relationship between the two love interests. One of them was just very, very obvious. I'm not someone that tends to like look really deep into twists and stories and stuff, but I have at this point read a ton of romantasy. I wouldn't consider this a romantasy for lots of reasons, but I have read a lot of fantasy romantasy at this point, so I am familiar with like debut authors' twists, and I could kind of see it coming, and I think most people when they read this could see it coming. But that's fine for like a cozy fantasy. Obviously, if you don't want really high stakes, if you don't want to be shocked and surprised, like obviously, you know, you don't want to be shocked and surprised, right? So,
Hi, bud.
so I'm not like saying that I hated it, because I didn't. It was like such a minor part of the story, but I had an issue with that. And I also had an issue with the fact that this is considered a romantasy. Now, I don't know if that's like per the author's words or if it's just the community claiming that it is, but it certainly is not. It's definitely a fantasy with a romance subplot. The romance doesn't start until like 60% of the way through, and also the enemies to lovers section, like the enemies to lovers dynamic, was gotten over pretty quickly. So I liked it. I think it was a good read. I think if you're a fan of cozy fantasy and you love animals, like, you'll really love this. That means that I still have a ton of reading time left to do. So I think I am going to start a little bit of Flame of Shadow, or whatever the hell it's called, the Crescent City book, but I'm not really feeling it. So I might pick up a historical romance. That being said, I have a ton of side business stuff that I need to do today, like hours and hours and hours of it. But I'm so sore. I'm so sore. I did a pretty intense workout video yesterday. Unfortunately, the people that say that working out helps mental illness, like, fuck you, and also they're kind of right. I have really realized how much help it is for my ADHD in particular. My job is pretty boring. I don't really do a ton in my everyday, so it's not very stimulating for me, and that cannot be great for people with ADHD. And so I often kind of have anxiety-like symptoms. Makes my anxiety worse, and so I have found that working out helps. It's so unfortunate. I hate that for me. I like it. I like the like after effects. I like the being physically exhausted afterwards. Like, I like it, but I hate it. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that I have to do it. But anyways, I did a yoga class. I've been doing bar classes, like, online. I'm not paying money. That's another thing. Okay, I have been watching a ton of people that just like incidentally are on health journeys of their own, which we love for them. But these people are like full-time influencers. They don't have another job, and so it can be incredibly frustrating to watch them talk about health and wellness and fitness and stuff, and going to all of these classes and like having the time and money to do so, and knowing that like I don't have the money to do so. Like, sure, I have the time, but I don't have the money to just drop like hundreds of dollars on workout classes like 3 times a week. And it's frustrating for them to be like, the workout works, like it's so successful, I've lost so much weight, and like, it's like, well, yeah, but you can afford to go to these classes. Yeah, it can be a little bit frustrating, and like, I guess that's kind of on me because like I'm still watching the people. It's like a silly thing to complain about, but I am trying to become a little bit more active. I have been very sedentary for years at this point, and I have really noticed the effects on not only my body, not like my weight or anything, but like my actual body, like pain and stuff like that. but also my mental health. And I think it's really contributed a lot to my depression and my anxiety and all of that, which is not great. So I just try to remind myself, like, if you get this workout in, this like 30-minute, 40-minute workout, you're gonna feel good because you're gonna be tired. And then you're also like, it's gonna help your anxiety for the day, and that's great. But I do enjoy yoga, and I have been enjoying the bar classes that I've been doing online, and they seem to be like the most consistent thing I can do. I tend to like not keep up with anything else, so I've just been taking it like one day at a time, literally. Some days I don't do it, some days I do. It's like the 80-20 theory of like doing what you should be 80% of the time, and then 20% doing whatever you want, which is more that I've been doing. But I feel like I'm finally getting into a rhythm of things that I enjoy doing, and watching people going on their own health journey has definitely helped in a lot of ways, because it's a reminder to myself that this is something that I want. Anyways, that's enough on that. That's just to say that I'm exhausted, and I think, or I'm sore, and I think that was part of the reason that I struggled to fall asleep. And also I got a soda whenever we went to do our Lorcana event, and I don't really drink soda. I don't buy soda unless I'm out somewhere. I got a soda, and I think it like really fucked me up. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason I couldn't sleep. And it just like, it just took forever. And then I woke up and I was exhausted and had a headache and all of that. So I'm trying to like recover and get some shit done today. So I think I'm going to continue to watch the YouTube video that I've been watching this morning. I recently discovered Hannah Alonso. She is like an anti-MLM commentary channel, and I've been watching her videos. Anti-MLM content is interesting, fascinating stuff, so it's important to like know about it, stay hip to it, and also it's pretty interesting, and her channel is good. So I've been watching a ton of her stuff recently. And so I think for my breakfast, I'm gonna get my breakfast together. I'm having a bagel with peanut butter, and then I'm going to finish my coffee, finish my breakfast, watch this YouTube video, and then we're gonna get some work done. And then read later, hopefully, because I still have 17 and a half hours. So let's just get into the day.
In Arbonne, they're called independent consultants, and in Melaleuca, they're called marketing executives. No selling going on here. It's like they think because they didn't purchase the inventory themselves.
Was that Kyo's voice I heard?
I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
So I just literally read page 1 of Chasing Cassandra, and I completely forgot that this is Tom Sepper's book. This is like everybody's favorite Lisa Kleypas hero, or one of, that I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for this, so get ready for some screaming. Stop. Where is it? Where's the page? We are six pages in, and it's already started. Okay. Just breathe. Okay, so I haven't done a ton of reading. I am 23 pages in and love it already. But I got my Fairy Loot box and I thought we could unbox it together. If you are unfamiliar, I am subscribed to several book boxes. I don't get paid for them or anything. I buy them with my own money. But I thought we could go through this one together. So this month's theme is Reflected Realms. This is the spoiler card. First, we have some Howl's Moving Castle socks. Very cute. I love me some socks. Let's take a look. Very, very adorable. I have not seen Howl's Moving Castle, but I would like to watch it. If not this weekend, next weekend. Then we have the Girl with No Reflection mirror. Cute little hand mirror with obviously a mirror on the back. Has a film on it, but that's very cute. I'm wondering if there's a way for me to hang this, because I do like the back portion, and it's hinged. We have a purple lilac-y colored passport holder. I have gotten so many passport holders from these boxes and I don't even have a passport. Then we have the Raven Cycle plate. I quite like this. This is giving Halloween energy, which I appreciate. I can see me putting this out or using this. It wasn't quite the whimsy that I was expecting from a Raven Cycle thing, but last thing before the book is this reflections notepad. So it looks like it has like a little daily reflections thing. You have a box for excited for, little tasks, big tasks, habits, favorite moments of the day, and a rating for the day. That's very cute. Love it. And the little design on it is cute. Something I could keep probably on my desk. Here are the tarot cards they give every month. I'm assuming these are the characters from the book. The bookmark that matches the card art. And then we have the book. I am very intrigued by this book and I can't decide if I like the reversible side or the regular side more. Usually I'm a fan of the regular side because it tends to have less like cartoony art, and while I do love this, there's something about this that's just working, I think. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna have to get it on my shelves and see how I'm feeling. And here is the description if you want to pause. So that is definitely going to have to go on my TBR. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book. I love the sprayed edges. And overall, I would say my favorite item from this is probably the mirror. The book itself, I think, is gorgeous. So excited about this box. This was a good little one. Overall, I like book boxes. They are like a steady stream of bookshelf decor, office decor for me, and I like staying in the know about the romances or the fantasies that people are enjoying. If you're not someone who likes merch and bookish items, I can understand why like it wouldn't really be your thing, especially because they tend to give items that are like single-use items. Like, I don't know how many passports passport holders I really need, you know, but I'm gonna go put these on my wall in my office at some point, and I'm gonna get back to the anti-MLM video I was watching, and then we're going to start dinner. Okay, so I actually got this far into Chasing Cassandra. I got 34 pages, but I was looking at my library account and I was able to renew all the library books that I have on hold, but I wasn't able to renew Just for the Summer or The Midnight Feast. Now, Just for the Summer I got because it was like gonna be a really long hold at my library, and it happened to come through, but I don't need to read this until next year. My Abby Jimenez video is scheduled for like April or something of next year, so I don't really need to read this anytime soon, and she'll probably have another release by that point. So I think I'm just gonna return this to the library and not worry about it, but I desperately want to read The Midnight Feast. And it's only 350 pages, and I fly through Lucy Foley books. Like I mentioned, she's like my all-time favorite mystery writer. So I think I'm gonna put Chasing Cassandra on hold just for now, and then I'm gonna read The Midnight Feast and hopefully get this done. It's due tomorrow, so I'm gonna start this after I finish this YouTube video. It only has like 10 minutes left, and then I'm gonna start this, and hopefully I'm able to finish it. My partner is working late, and then he is going to be gaming all night, so he doesn't work tomorrow, so I have plenty of time. I don't read as fast as I once did. I'm an old lady now. My reading has slowed way down, but I should be able to get 350 pages read by tomorrow, and then I can just drop the book off to the library on my way home from work tomorrow. So that's the plan. We're gonna try to read this today into tomorrow. This is actually turning into like a 24-hour readathon trying to get this book started and finished. So once I finish this video, I'm gonna start this, and let's see if I can get it done. So I am 41 pages in, and I thought it would be cool if we did like little updates and tried to like solve the mystery together. So if you don't know, Lucy Foley tends to do mysteries. This one in particular is about the opening night for the manor. It's like a really elaborate, extravagant bed and breakfast hotel type thing. It's run by Francesca and husband Owen. Francesca seems to be a woman that was raised in money and privilege, and we have gotten only one chapter by Owen, but she's kind of like that woo-woo crystals and like howling at the moon type. She has pissed off this town, the people in this town, like several people. And the thing about Lucy Foley's stories is everybody's always connected in some way, which I appreciate, especially for a mystery. One of the employees is the son of a farm owner that is right next door. Francesca seems to think that the farm is like trashy and smells bad and all of that kind of stuff, and she is slowly purchasing that farmland as well. Bella, I think, is her name. And we've gotten one chapter from her. She is somehow connected to the manor as well. She got something in the mail about like the news article about the manor opening up, and so she faked her identity, applied, and she obviously got invited in, and they're doing like an opening night with a bunch of like a really exclusive guest list and stuff, and so she lied about who she was. We also have Eddie, who is the son of the farmer. Doesn't want anybody to know that he's from that farm. And we also have Owen, who seems to have some secrets. And then lastly, Michelle, who is, I guess, like manager, hotel manager, assistant or whatever to Francesca. We haven't gotten a point of view from her yet, but she seems to be a little bit, just based on what other characters have said, she seems to be like a little bit obsessed with Francesca in general. We just got a chapter from Owen, who is Francesca's husband, and he alludes to keeping some secrets from Francesca, but also Francesca might not being who she seems like she is. I think as we go along, I'm gonna do like little updates with my thoughts and what I suspect is happening. Obviously, I'll do like a spoiler section as we get more and more into the book, because this is a new release, so if you want to read it, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I love Lucy Foley stories. I read not The Hunting Party, but The Guest List, which was similar to this, but I also read her next release after that, The Paris Apartment, and I liked The Paris Apartment. I loved The Guest List. It was like one of my favorite reads the year that I read it, and then I loved The Paris Apartment. We know that in present day, like we've had a chapter from the future, the day after all of what happens, and it seems like the manor catches on fire and like the fire spreads. And then they go to like figure out what happened and like put the fire out, and when they get there they find a dead body over the side of the cliff. I'm interested. I'm definitely like happy that I decided to pick this up, and I'm ready to get back into it. So we're gonna start the next chapter starting on page 41, and we're following Eddie, the bartender. I also forgot to mention that Eddie seems to have a missing brother. We only have had it mentioned once, but I'm assuming it relates in some way. And we also have a bunch of like people missing or like weird connections that we don't really know about. Okay, so I am 100 pages in. And I have had some developments. So the husband has alluded to an obsession with Francesca. There was earlier talks when they were talking about how he claims that her company reached out to him with this whole like hotel renovation thing. He claims that they reached out to him. Whatever, his points of view haven't been like the most illuminating as far as his character is concerned. But really what we've learned is Bella crawled down a cliff and pulled a journal out of some rocks, and like apparently this cliff is only known of by locals, and we get a journal entry of a girl like in her teens who meets this family, the whatever family, I don't know. She meets Francesca's family and her two brothers who are twins, and she becomes best friends with Francesca, and it seems like there's like a weird, creepy, like sexual dynamic with the grandfather between employees and like possibly other young girls. Mentions of like birds and stuff, and so like girls that become friends with Francesca are called birds, and they say like she goes through friends really quickly. Limericks and poems and stuff, and like local legend about birds doing things, and investigators ask someone in the present who lives at an abandoned mobile home park about seeing the person pushed off the cliff in the present, and he says something about it being birds. So I feel like there's something to do with Francesca and also possibly her grandfather. He just seems like very creepy. And then we also have, and so Bella is connected in that way. I don't necessarily know if it's her or if it's like a sister that's involved or something, but I don't know if these journal entries are hers. I don't know, but she seems to know a lot about Francesca. And then we have Eddie, who is the dishwasher, who's the farmer's son. And his mother is now working there at the manor that he didn't know about, but his father is drinking a ton and going out and like coming back at late hours and being very secretive and not telling the son where he's going, which like he doesn't necessarily need to, but there's some secrets going on there with maybe the missing brother in the manor in some way. Francesca buying up land that other people own, and like taking people's homes and their property and stuff by the land that the mobile home park currently is on. So know that Francesca installed cameras everywhere, which like I will say this, my biggest fear is going somewhere where people have hidden cameras, and this is like a new trend in horror movies that I just absolutely hate. Is like people going to Airbnbs and stuff and finding cameras like in their shower heads and like in the fucking fire alarms and shit. Like that terrifies me. She just seems to be like putting on a front that she is this like holistic, loving, crystal using woman, and she just seems a little bit, there's just something going on there. So I do feel like it's all related. I don't necessarily think that any plotline at this point is a red herring, and maybe Owen is like, I don't know, we'll see. I don't know. And this is like my favorite thing about mysteries. I love dissecting every little interaction and like speculating and trying to figure it out, and I'm living for this. I'm glad that I realized that I have to return this and like decide to read it today because I'm loving it. I am 100 pages in and loving it. So I also didn't mention that class seems to play a huge part. Francesca, her nickname is Freddie in the diaries or whatever, but her family is obviously very rich, and so class and money and stuff plays a huge part in this. And Francesca is very classist, and she like makes just gross comments about people in general, very judgy, and not like free love, bro, you know what I mean? Like not the hippy dippy love everybody, don't judge anybody sort of thing. So I am now 170 pages in, so I'm halfway through. I have 14 hours and 41 minutes left to read, and I'm still very, very intrigued by this. So I'm gonna put spoilers for this next section, so if you don't want spoilers for this book, go ahead and skip to this timestamp, because I'm just gonna talk about the book for spoilers and all of that, because I think solving the mystery is fun. So go ahead and skip ahead. But since we last talked, we had Owen cutting down some elder trees in the woods. Owen is the husband of Francesca, and they have a bunch of like superstition around them, and there have been like other supernatural things happening. Gus found a ton of blood in the woods, and there's just been like other creepy things happening in the present day. And then also in the journal we found out that the main character that Bella is, that is her diary, and also that she was assaulted by one of the twins, so one of Francesca's brothers. There seems to be another girl that was also possibly assaulted by one of the brothers, and she is actually Michelle. There's also a legend in this town that there's like these woods, and if you put a message in the trees in the woods, the birds will do things for you. And it harkens back to a time when there wasn't really a police department overseeing the town, and so the townspeople had their own like justice system basically, and it was these people who would follow leads and take care of things. And so it seems like it might be an organization that's still taking care of the town and is still overseeing things and making sure that people aren't doing bad things. The twins and Bella and Francesca all witnessed something in the woods, and we're just kind of getting up to that point in the present and or the journal entries. And so we don't know, like, did they find a dead body? Did one of them die? And I would say that the other books that I have read by Lucy Foley haven't had like a supernatural element, but that's not to say that like this one can't, but there's just this seemingly like supernatural thing going on, and it could be just superstition, and it actually is like a secret society of people that are doing things behind the scenes. But it just seems like all of the bird language and all of that alludes to something that's actually going on. So we left off with Eddie having to go into the woods to clean up some blood. Francesca and Bella are going to meet to talk about stuff, I guess, in the woods, and so I feel like we're gonna get a little bit more clarity, some kind of like low-key suspicions, but nothing super concrete yet. So I'll probably update you guys when I'm done or when something crazy happens. But right now I feel like Eddie being involved is kind of a red herring. Like, I think there's something with his brother, but I don't think he knows about it, so he's not really like high on my suspect list. I do feel like there is an element of abuse going on with the Meadows family, and like this town covering it up, being part of it. I don't know. Inklings here and there. Like, if I were to have like a murder board, I would have like connections, but I don't have anything super concrete yet. So I would like to get a decent bit through this before I go to sleep. I'm definitely not going to end up finishing it tonight, but I also forgot to mention two things. Owen, it was revealed, is actually the son of someone who lived in the mobile home park, and he was like spying on Francesca and Bella, and he was like weird and creepy, and like kids made fun of him, and he was like really bullied. That was revealed as well. And then we also have Nathan, who went to high school with Eddie. His father saw something go down in the present, and he lived in the mobile home park before the Meadows, before Francesca like started to buy land from it or whatever and try to like shut it down. He's dating Eddie's ex-girlfriend, and he seems like a little bit obsessed with fire possibly, and he just seems like all around unsettled. And Bella went into the town to like see how everything's changed, and she went to like a pub, and she heard Nathan and Eddie's ex-girlfriend Delilah talking about doing something, and like the group of local kids got together and were like throwing rocks at the people at the resort. I don't necessarily think that the murder is connected to Nathan. I think Nathan possibly was involved in the fire maybe, but I don't think that the murder is on him. I think he's another one of those characters that just like adds to the story but isn't like the main culprit. Oh, and Nathan did not go to high school with Eddie. He's actually quite a bit older. There's a lot of conversation about him losing his hair and dressing like a teenager, even though he's clearly around the same age as Francesca and Bella are. So that's an interesting connection. Alright, so I am getting into the last section of the book. I am at 237 pages. It is the evening of the fest, so I'm sure we're about to find out all of the secrets. So I wanted to give last minute updates, last minute assumptions of what's going on or what's going to happen. So we found out a couple of things. We found out that Bella was having a flirty thing with a guy named Jake, and he is actually Eddie's brother. I don't know if Eddie knows. We have no indication that he knows that the family is connected, but he did find out that he was cleaning the blood in the woods, and he saw a whole group of people dressed in bird masks with like cloaks on covered in feathers, and they were killing and sacrificing one of his bulls on his family's farm. and he found that mask and cloak later in his dad's closet. We know that the birds are still very active because Jake makes a mention of it to Bella she wrote it in her journal. Michelle and Owen end up hooking up, and Francesca sees it on the cameras, and then in the present they find the building burned down, all of that, but there's like a wine cellar and 2 people are locked in it and they're like in critical condition. And that is where the wine cellar is where Francesca saw them hooking up on the news feed or on the surveillance footage. She didn't confront him about it, so I'm thinking Owen and Michelle are the 2 people in the wine cellar. I don't know yet who the person on the cliff is. I'm assuming that it was Francesca, and I think Eddie doesn't know about Jake, his brother. And Bella saw the death of Jake's brother, or saw the death of Jake, and she wanted to confront Francesca and the twins about what she saw. And I think there's going to be a confrontation between the 2 of them, and then Francesca's going to go over the cliff. And I think that's all of the characters, all of the information that we found out so far. I forgot to stop my timer before I fell asleep yesterday, and when I woke up I had like 5 hours and some change left, so I kind of like did some math, and I think I ended up having 14 hours and 25 minutes left when I fell asleep last night. And so I did some reading obviously this morning, and so I have 14 hours and 6 minutes left. We're just gonna go from that time. Do I think I'm gonna be able to do that in the next 2 days and a half or day and a half? Because I'm trying to finish this for Sunday. I don't know, but we're gonna try. All right, so I have finished the midnight feast. I have 12 hours and 50 minutes left, and I really liked this. So some of my assumptions were right, some of my assumptions were wrong. I think the big reveals should be guessable but not like super obvious. So I really liked it. I liked the way that this wrapped up, and I think it's a great mystery type story. I love the way that Lucy Foley writes switching timelines. She does very well with the short chapters and also switching points of view, like right before a really intense thing is supposed to happen, or when you're like highly anticipating a person's point of view. And she utilizes past timelines, future timelines, present, all of that very well. Overall, I think she's just a great mystery writer. I think all of her mysteries are pretty varied. I will say this is the most similar, aside from Hunting Party because I haven't read that, to the book that got her a lot of popularity, The Guest List, I think. I think it's fantastic, and it was fun trying to like solve the mystery with you guys along the way. And I won't say that I love every single reveal, but I think it all makes sense and I'm not mad about it. So I'm pretty happy with having read this. Now I can get it back to the library and somebody else can pick it up and really love it as well. So we have 10 hours and 50 minutes left, and I just reached the halfway mark of chasing Cassandra. There's some dog earing going on because I'm only halfway through, and I already am so excited to reread this. For reference, my favorite book in this series thus far has been Pandora's book, and this follows Pandora's twin, Cassandra, and I loved Pandora's book. I loved her pairing with Gabriel. I think their relationship is just like everything that you would want in a historical romance. It was one of my favorite books of the year that I read it, and I just loved it a ton, and I am loving this even more. So this follows Cassandra, who is the Ravenel twin that is unmarried, and Tom, who is a railway magnate, and he's incredibly wealthy and powerful, and he is friends with Winterbourne and Devon and West Ravenel. He's kind of an aloof man. He keeps to himself, and he's kind of known, has the reputation of a very shrewd businessman. Any relationship, friendship, any business deal he gets into, it's widely accepted that it's only for his benefit in some business way. He has never been connected to women in any way. He's not like a known rake or anything like that. He just seems very aloof and doesn't tend to interact with a ton of people. He doesn't come from an old wealthy family, so the ton doesn't really accept him. They view him as new money, and he's kind of frowned upon. And so the match up between Cassandra, who comes from an old money family, and Tom would be looked down upon. This is Cassandra's second season, and she knows that if she doesn't get through the season with a marriage, that in the third year people will start looking bad on her, and she needs to secure a husband. But unlike a lot of historical romances where the heroine is a bit of a wallflower and she's not very like prized and a ton of men aren't super interested in her, Cassandra is something of a gem of the season. She's gorgeous and men tend to really flock to her, so she is not without her suitors. She's not without engagement proposals, but she desperately wants to be in love. She has sort of told herself and her family, I'm okay with marrying and then having love come along, but she knows like in her heart of hearts that that's not really true, that she does want to marry for love, that she wants to be in love with the man that she marries. She meets Tom after the wedding. The day of Pandora's wedding, he overhears her talking to West Ravenel about her distress about Pandora getting married and her not having a husband, and Tom sees her and is immediately like blown away, enamored by her beauty, and he proposes marriage to him. Cassandra goes along with it. She's like, you know, what's in it for me? And he admits straight up that it will never be a love match, but he's incredibly wealthy, so anything that she could dream of, he can provide for her. Any of her wishes, any dream that she has in life, he can provide. And she makes it very clear that this arrangement wouldn't work for her. She wants love, and they go their separate ways, but Tom is completely unable to forget about Cassandra. They meet up a couple of months later, here and there, at different social events. They have some kisses, they dance together, and a couple of very sweet moments, and then they go their separate ways because Tom knows that he can't provide her with the kind of marriage that she's looking for. In addition to being very cold and callous, Tom has lived his life very removed from other people, removed from relationships in general, and he's begun to notice this creeping sense of loneliness, this feeling that he can't really identify, this feeling of like something missing in his life. His character is more similar to, I would say, like Winterbourne than like Devon or West, if you've read this series, which I prefer Winterbourne. I prefer this sort of like stoic hero, especially in historical romances, the like more stoic, not necessarily rake, but the cold, like detached kind of hero, and that's very much Tom. But after this run-in with Cassandra, where they have these moments of laughter and joy, he feels something missing and becomes very apparent to him. So he tries to separate himself from Cassandra. He takes in this boy he employs this boy who is a street urchin, and he has some sweet moments with him, and the three of them have some sweet moments together. But at this halfway mark, neither of them have really made their intentions clear. Neither of them have said, you know, I really want to marry. They've had some kisses, but there hasn't been anything like ruining for her. Like her kissing a guy and being caught kissing a guy alone without a chaperone and all of that could ruin her, but they haven't really gone further than that. And so she's still on the marriage mart, still in her season, still trying to find a guy. And there's a guy who she is interested in a little bit. He comes from a well-to-do family. Marquess is his father, and the guy is just kind of slimy. They have a bad run-in, and she basically tells him like to fuck off. And the run-in is horrible. Like, he assaults her and basically says that because she is in a larger body and that she has to wear like these tight corsets and these tight outfits, that she is asking for it because like she's following the fashion, but she is larger, so it's like making it more revealing just by the nature of her having more body, you know what I mean? So like it pushes her breasts up and her dresses are tight and stuff like that. And it was a horrible experience, and it's reinforced things for her that she has been struggling with because of loneliness, of missing Pandora and not having Pandora by her side. They used to go on all these adventures together, and having to attend these balls and stuff. She's just been eating a lot, and she's been gaining weight, and she's feeling very insecure about herself and the way that her clothes fit and the way people perceive her. And there have been some like nasty comments made to her as well. But overall, I am very, very, very much enjoying the book. I was concerned that like I would be very into Tom's storyline and I wouldn't get a ton from Cassandra, but I'm very happy with the amount that we have gotten from Cassandra, and I'm ready to see how their story progresses. So I'm very much enjoying this, and this is one of those historical romances that I'm just gonna return to whenever I need a pick-me-up, because I have been giggling and kicking my feet and just obsessing and smiling and laughing and all of that this whole time. So happy Saturday, friends. I have 8 hours and 42 minutes left, which should end at 7:40 today. So hopefully I can get this done, because I need to edit this video and get it up for you guys tomorrow. So I did end up finishing Chasing Cassandra last night, and again, so many dog ears. I loved this so much. This was deeply romantic. The relationship between the hero and the heroine was incredibly sweet, and I like the way that this handled Tom's reluctance for a romantic relationship. I think that's a common thing in historical romance, especially with heroes like this. And they tend to like brute force the relationship, whereas in this I feel like they took it very slowly, and it was one of those things that Tom slowly realized that he is in love with Cassandra, and it was a good way to handle it. I think a good way to handle someone who has commitment issues, or who has trouble accessing their feelings or identifying their feelings, or is fearful of love and all of that. I think this book did a beautiful job of dealing with those issues and you know, taking the relationship slow and all of that. So I loved this, and I'm happy that I've had 2 books this week that are 5 stars, like the Midnight Feast and that are 5 stars, and I could not be happier, because I have had very few 5 stars this year, and the fact that I've found 2 back to back is just like loving it. So I think I'm going to read Giant Days Volume 6. I'm not quite ready to get into a novel. I'm still feeling Chasing Cassandra hangover a little bit, so I think I'm gonna read this, and then I'm going to spend the next 8 hours reading House of Flame and Shadow. I'm just really ready for this to be over, for me to be done with this. I do have quite a bit left, and will I be able to finish this in 8 hours? I don't know. And will I stick with this for 8 hours? I don't know that either, but I'm ready for this to be off my list and just have this read. So I am feeling so good about reading, and just like good in general. Over the past couple of weeks, my anxiety has just been peak, and I feel like I'm slowly starting to even out, which is very exciting. So I'm feeling good, and I'm happy that I have decided to spend this week focusing on reading. I feel like I've had a good balance of other things as well, and I don't feel like reading for 24 hours or trying to get 24 hours of reading in was bad. It reminded me in a good way to read, and like it was my intention to read more. So I'm happy that I decided to do the challenge, and yeah.
6. Okay, y'all. So I've been sitting here working on life all day. I've been coming up with new training tips. I've been asking my girls what they want to.
So I have 6 minutes left of the 24-hour readathon. It's 10:40 p.m. I just finished House of Flame and Shadow, and I need to collect my thoughts, and we'll talk about it tomorrow and talk about all the things that I read and how the 24 hours went. But the best part about that was that I had an audiobook for it, and I was able to play 6.5 hours of Power Wash Simulator. Happy Sunday, friends. It is time to wrap up this vlog. I only have like 10 minutes left of this readathon challenge, reading whatever challenge. I'm not gonna read for 10 minutes. I think I'm done. I'm very proud of what I got accomplished in these 24 hours. So let's talk about all of the things that I read. First up, I read The Phoenix Keeper. I really liked this. This was so cute and cozy and soft. Wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be, but it still was like the perfect read that I needed in the moment. Then I read The Midnight Feast. I probably had the most fun with this, solving it with y'all and figuring out what was going on. This was a quick, fun read, and it was just another banger from Lucy Foley. I read Chasing Cassandra, and of course we all know that this was literal perfection, that I loved this so much, and I already want to reread it, and it just put me in such a historical romance mood. I read Giant Days Volume 6, which again I really loved. I think this graphic novel series about 3 friends just living together in university and figuring stuff out is so fun. Shenanigans and the like, I love it. And then lastly, I finished this absolute behemoth of a book, House of Flame and Shadow. I started this around the 250 page, and honestly I could not get through reading this physically, so I already had the audiobook. I played the audiobook, I listened to the audiobook, I played some Sims, and I played Power Washer Simulator for like 6.5 hours. I really did not like this. This is probably one of the worst Sarah J Maas books that I have ever read. This was overly long. The info dumps were absolutely god awful. I understand people that don't like the way that Sarah J Maas delivers world building and information, and this was the worst I have ever seen it. There were characters where their entire storyline through the entire book, like main characters, was just info dump, was just like them having conversations with people or reading books and relaying information about this world. I am on the last book in a series. I don't need more world building. At this point, like, I'm trying to fight the big bad. I'm trying to get all of our characters settled to where they're going to be whenever this whole thing wraps up. I don't need more world building. I don't need to still be figuring shit out, unless it's like minor stuff. And so aside from that, this was just really bad. There were so many plot lines introduced in this book and wrapped up in this book that could have used several several books worth of effort to go into it. The way that the characters were settled at the end of the book, I don't agree with. I think that a lot of things were left open-ended that shouldn't have been. I don't like the way that everything wrapped up. I did not have Hunt and Bryce going into space on my bingo card and almost falling into a black hole, but here we are. Did not like this. I did not like this. I am very, very, very disappointed with this book and how this series wrapped up, and I get it. I get why people are not a fan. I feel like I wasted my time with this, honestly. I'm glad that the series is over. I'm very upset with how the series wrapped up, so that is that. But, I mean, I got through a ton of books. If I'm feeling spicy, I will put the page numbers that I read here, but I'm happy overall with the challenge. I'm happy that I challenged myself to read a ton. This is more reading in a week than I have done pretty much all year. Like, I haven't read this much in a week all year. June, maybe, I read this amount in the whole month. So I'm very happy that I'm like getting back into reading again. It is my favorite hobby, so overall, I'm proud with how the 24 hours went. I would love to talk down below your thoughts on anything that I read, or if you just liked the video, I'd love to talk down below about your week. Anything like that. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this. I do tons of vlogs and other random things. I have tons of opinions and I just like to share them. All of my social medias are linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.